Hey guys, welcome to Realmeltan. In this video, we're going to discuss this thing. We're going to see what kind of ray tracing performance we can get out of media card, such as this MSI RTX 3060 Gaming X. Let's find out. First things first, sorry for this re-upload. There are some changes which we'll discuss later in the video. And yes, if you're wondering why did we select this RTX 3060? According to NVIDIA, this is an amazing entry point should you want to go into ray tracing and DLSS. Another thing, we have turned on resizable bar support for this RTX 3060. We're going to see what kind of additional performance we can get out of this resizable bar support. So it's going to be very amazing. Which brings us to our test setup. CPU is our well-known, well-tortured 10900K. Sitting on the MSI B560M Mota Wi-Fi. We will do a review about this board, so if you don't want to miss this review and you're not done so, make sure to smash the subscribe button and the 100% bell. 16 gigs of G-Skill FlareX. SSD is the 5 gigs of ADATA SX8200. This is a new CPU cooler. This is the EK360 AIO Basic, the non-RGB version of the P360 we're using in the past videos. And powering all this is our Seasonic GX70W power supply. As for testing methodology, this is where the change is going to come in. We are still going to show you live gameplay videos of RTX on and off, but we are going to take out Overstein Youngblood and Control. Thank you to all you guys who have watched our previous video showing off Control and Overstein, but somehow it seems to be outdated.
NANI?
But anyway, that's not an issue, so we are still going to keep Cyberpunk 2077, but we're going to introduce one new game, which is Watch Dogs Legion. So let's not waste any more time. Let's go on to our RTX on-off run.
Right, thanks Mel. So first game that I'm gonna comment on would be Watch Dogs Legion. Details set to 1080p Ultra. RTX is set to off. DLSS is set to off as well. On the right, we have RTX on and DLSS set to quality. What you can see here is that the average FPS difference between them for RTX off, DLSS off, which is about 60 plus like that, whereas for RTX on and DLSS quality, it's about 50 odd. So it's about 10 frames down. What you can see visually in terms of like differences would be quite a couple of things. Like let's say we come to this scene right here, the one where the guy is getting pinned down to the ground, the pipes being reflected from the ceiling is more clearly defined when RTX is set to on. The next part down here, you'll see the metal cabinet. When RTX is turned on, it's much more shiny, it's much more defined. Pretty much like what you expect a very reflective metal sheet to look like under bright lights, that kind of thing. So it's a bit more realistic that way. Okay, coming back to this scene again, let's go with what happens if we turn the RTX on, but we have DLSS turned off. Compared to when the DLSS was set to quality, we are down another 10 FPS or so, with an average of, instead of 50 odd, we are getting an average of 40 odd, a little bit in the high 30s, that kind of thing. So visually wise, there's not really a lot different. If you look a little bit closer, yeah, you can see the pipes in the reflection are a little bit more defined, but it's not really something you will notice unless you pause the game and then you look really hard. Okay, next we come to what happens if you turn the DLSS off for both examples, but on one end you have DLSS set to quality and the other you have DLSS set to performance. Again, let's look at the guard pinning the guy down. From what you can see, the uniform on performance looks less defined, it's much more blurred, especially along the edges of the uniform. Another thing I'd like to point out to you is the 3 set of gas canisters behind him. The gas canisters look less defined as well. On quality setting, they look much sharper and more defined. Performance wise, you are getting about 70 FPS with RTX off, DLSS set to quality. You are getting 80, about 10 FPS more if you set it from quality to performance. A pretty similar scenario happens when you flip the RTX back on both of these. On RTX on DLSS quality, again you can see the guard's uniform looks much more sharply defined, but also since the RTX is on, the reflection overall also looks sharper than when you have DLSS set to performance. These are the things that you should consider when you are trying to choose which of these modes that you should be looking at. Now we'll go to the other game on the lineup, which is Cyberpunk 2077. Now we have the results here with both RTX on and DLSS on, as well as RTX and DLSS off. So what you can see here, average is about 60 FPS, they're about there. Whereas with RTX and DLSS on, the average drops to about 50. So you have lost about 10-15% in FPS on average. couple of things that you can see in this scene itself. We like to call this scene the Jackie car ride. Because this is one part where you get in the car and then your point of view, provided you don't move your mouse, it's fixed all the way. So you get a really good apple-to-apple comparison as to how things are. So as you can see, the difference between on and off are mainly in things like the reflection on the road, lights. So you can see for this game, they kind of like very much improved on it actually. Next, we come to what happens if you turn the RTX on to the RTX higher setting, the ultra setting, but you leave the DLSS off. Now, turning the DLSS off but leaving the RTX on drops the average from 50 FPS to 30 FPS. You get a very cinematic experience, but it's not exactly something you want to play with. Unless you just came from a console, in which case I reserve my judgment. Okay, the last one, we have taken two footages here actually. Both of them are RTX off, DLSS on. Now, the difference is that the first one we're going to show you, the average FPS is about 90. They're about there. So it hovers about 80, 90, 95. So this is what you're going to get if you turn off the ray tracing but you leave the DLSS on and left to quality setting. If you have a card like the RTX 2060 Super and you find that 60 FPS is not quite your thing, you want 90 and you don't mind losing some of the ray tracing effects, yeah, you can go with this setting. It's still quite a nice visual settings. You almost don't lose really any details, almost can't really see. The last one that we're gonna go through here is when you set RTX to off and you set DLSS to maximum performance. Now, as you can see here, the frame rate goes all the way up. You can see it goes to 130, 150, but it does come at a price. Now, as you can see in this part, when DLSS is set to quality, you can see the radio is much more clearly defined. You can see the digits on it as well as the other details like the knobs and all that. Whereas under ultra performance setting, the radio looks like a very washed out mess. It kind of looks like something that we'll find inside a car interior in like a PS2 or PS3 game. Really blur. You can't really see what's going on the radio. Should you use this DLSS mode and leave the ray tracing off? Well, it kind of depends. If you're sporting, let's say like a RTX 3060, this card down here, you're a very short range melee character, maybe you should go for this, but do take note that your visual experience is going to be compromised quite a fair bit, as you can see right over here. We're going to go through some of the other examples with RTX and DLSS on versus off. Things like the road reflection, the reflection from the building, as well as the lighting, especially the river scenes, that kind of thing. I'll just let this video run through and I'll let you be the judge of what you see.
Alright, so we have concluded our run for Legion as well as Cyberpunk 2077. So gameplay looks pretty awesome for both RTX on. Gordon, what would we actually recommend for 3060 build?
Okay, for RTX 3060, as we've seen from the results just now, ray tracing and DLSS has come quite a long way. From the early titles like Wolfenstein Youngblood and Control, the RTX and the DLSS was a bit piecemeal like that. Nice explosion here,
nice reflection there,
that kind of thing. You kind of had to really look out for it. Whereas for both Watch Dogs Legion as well as Cyberpunk 2077, turning the RTX on brought quite a fair world of different, like let's say Night City in Cyberpunk 2077, as you can see on the screen down here, as well as London in Watch Dogs Legion. Both cities just look much more immersive and much more lifelike.
More complete.
More complete. The experience is much better overall.
Yeah.
With RTX on as well as DLSS set to the highest quality setting, for both games you're gonna get about 50 odd FPS on average, which I think is fine. They're not exactly very fast paced. We're not looking at something like Valorant or Fortnite or Overwatch. So for these titles, 50-60 is about okay. You get a nicer looking world. If however, you can live without the ray tracing effects and you want to prioritize a little bit more on the FPS, for Watch Dogs Legion, you can consider turning the the RTX off, turning the DLSS to either the highest detail setting or you can set it to performance. For Cyberpunk, however, if you want to turn RTX off, please leave the DLSS to the quality setting.
That's the best you can go.
Yeah, the best you can go. The difference between quality and auto performance is much more obvious in this game compared to Watch Dogs Legion.
Yep.
If you want to get lots of FPS, set it to auto performance, but as you've seen, visual quality will suffer, but if you can live with that, please go ahead and use it anyway. I've been pretty excited with these two games. I can really tell you, the RTX ON really brought a much better, more complete experience. Watch Dogs Legion, to be very honest, I only just bought the game
We spent extra money just to give you this video.
to show you the Watch Dogs Legion. I think with RTX ON, I'm actually looking forward to playing the game.
Yeah, it looks a lot better at night.
London in the game looks like a very nice world to be in, so I look forward to playing this game
Oh,
as soon as we finish doing up this video.
that will be me. So, if you like this video again, make sure to give us a thumbs up and write down in the comments what ray tracing titles are you actually playing right now. So on that note, yeah, make sure to come back to our channel. Going to do more experiments with the guy inside.
Yes.
Not sure about this GPU, but we shall see.
We shall see.
So with that, goodbye.
And good night.
Yep.